In just 11 minutes, get 10 powerful takeaways from the 2-hour-long debate between Patrick Bet-David and 20 anti-capitalists on Jubilee Surrounded. They clash over capitalism versus socialism, the myth of meritocracy, and whether profit destroys healthcare. Stay till the end. You won't want to miss this. Takeaway 1. Incentive drives human effort. Patrick Bet-David opened the debate with the bold statement that incentive is the fuel that keeps capitalism alive, and that without incentive, the system collapses. He argued that people need reasons to get out of bed every day, and in a capitalist system, those reasons are often money, freedom, status, or building a legacy. He said, some people work for survival, some work for status, some for freedom, and some for legacy. Mason, one of the anti-capitalist participants, disagreed and said that incentives are not only about money. He explained that many people are motivated by meaning, community, and passion. Mason brought up the example of single mothers who work multiple jobs but are still unable to secure a stable life. He argued that this shows how capitalism rewards only a few and leaves many hardworking people behind. For example, in post-war Japan, thousands of people rebuilt industries not just because of salaries but also because they felt pride in contributing to their nation's recovery. This suggests that while money is important, purpose and collective meaning can drive people just as strongly. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 2. Capitalism and inequality go hand in hand. The idea of meritocracy was one of the most contested points. Mason challenged Patrick by asking how America could be called a meritocracy when some children are born into wealthy dynasties, while others are born into poverty with no safety net. Patrick admitted he came from a poor background and had to work his way up, but Mason pointed out that stories like his are rare and not achievable for everyone. Mason said, that cannot happen for everybody in society. It is possible for each individual, but not everybody can be a millionaire. Patrick replied that most people do not use their time effectively and could improve their market value if they did. This exchange showed how capitalists and anti-capitalists see inequality very differently. For example, recent studies in America show that almost half of families would struggle to cover an unexpected expense of just $400, proving that even in the richest country, many people live on the edge. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 3. Freedom is viewed differently. Ilana argued that capitalism gives only the illusion of freedom. She said that in capitalism, people are forced into jobs they dislike just to survive, which is not true freedom. She explained that in socialism, incentives can shift towards working for the common good rather than just survival. Patrick strongly disagreed and tested her by offering to pay for her to give up her citizenship and move to any communist country with a one-way ticket and $20,000 in spending money. She refused, and Patrick used this as proof that even anti-capitalists do not really want to live in socialist countries. This exchange revealed how freedom means different things to different people. For example, a worker in South Korea may see freedom as being able to protest without being jailed, while an American may see freedom as the chance to leave a job and start a small business. Both are forms of freedom, but they are not the same. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 4. Healthcare became a battleground. Hunter turned the discussion to healthcare, which quickly became one of the most heated moments. He argued that the profit motive in healthcare creates perverse incentives because people will pay any amount of money to avoid death. He said, in the U.S., 66.5% of all bankruptcies are because of medical debt. Patrick pushed back by pointing out that innovations like blood thinners saved lives and were developed because of incentives in the marketplace. Hunter countered that much medical research is actually funded by governments, not private companies, and that other countries like Taiwan achieve far better results with lower costs. The back and forth revealed how healthcare is a perfect example of capitalism's strengths and weaknesses. For example, insulin in the United States costs several times more than in Canada, not because it is better, but because profit-driven companies can set the price high in America, which supports Hunter's point. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 5. Greed is both praised and condemned. Luke focused on the idea that greed is the primary driver of capitalism. He said people work 5 jobs not because they want to, but because they need to survive. Patrick replied by asking Luke whether he had created any jobs. Luke admitted he had not, and Patrick argued that those who risk their life savings to create businesses deserve to reap large rewards. Luke countered by saying that this does not justify huge bonuses for CEOs, while workers struggle with low wages. This part of the debate showed how greed can be seen either as a destructive force or as a motivator for progress. For example, Elon Musk is often criticized for hoarding wealth, yet his companies like SpaceX have advanced space travel faster than government agencies alone. Greed in this case has driven innovation, but at the same time critics point to poor working conditions in Tesla factories as the cost of that progress. We're halfway through the video. Thanks for sticking with us. If you're enjoying it, hit the thumbs up and share it in your WhatsApp groups. If you'd like to support us, please tap the thanks button below. It helps us keep making great content. Drop a comment and don't forget to hit subscribe for more. Now let's continue with the video. Takeaway 6. Historical examples fuel the arguments. History was used repeatedly to strengthen both sides' claims. Zena argued that people have always been driven by passion and intrinsic motivation, citing psychological studies. Patrick countered that America's rapid rise showed that capitalist incentives worked better than any other system. Armand then brought in a shocking historical example from the Congo under King Leopold, where millions of people died in forced labor for rubber extraction. He said, "I am willing to bet that man worked harder to hit that rubber quota than anything you've ever worked for." Patrick responded by pointing out that communism also killed millions of people in the 20th century. This back and forth showed how each side can find history to defend its position. For example, in the United States during the early 1900s, labor unions had to fight and sometimes die for basic rights like weekends and child labor laws, which proves that without rules, capitalism can be ruthless. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 7. Poverty reduction is disputed. The second claim was that capitalism has lifted more people out of poverty than any other system. Gabby disagreed and pointed out that China achieved the largest poverty reduction in history by lifting 800 million people out of poverty through state planning. Patrick said China only grew after copying capitalist practices from Japan, such as opening thousands of banks to support small businesses. Gabby countered that capitalism sabotages socialist attempts, giving the example of Chile, where the United States backed a coup against a socialist leader. The disagreement showed how poverty reduction is interpreted differently by each side. For example, in Venezuela, poverty dropped dramatically during the early years of Hugo Chavez, but the later collapse of the economy gave ammunition to those who say socialism always fails. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 8, Redistribution reveals deep divides. When the topic shifted to dividing all wealth equally, Caleb said poor people are often assumed to be bad with money, even though they never had a chance to learn financial skills. Patrick explained that habits in financial education separate the rich from the poor, and that even if everyone was given the same amount of money, within 5 years it would be uneven again. James, another participant, said he had applied for 477 jobs without success, and Patrick offered him a job in Florida. James asked for details first, which Patrick saw as being too selective, saying, "That is why you are failing." This exchange highlighted the deep divide in how each side sees opportunity. For example, studies show that many lottery winners go bankrupt within a few years, proving Patrick's point about financial habits. But at the same time, many people never get the chance to build those habits in the first place. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 9, social programs and feminism were attacked. When discussing why poverty exists, Patrick said that welfare programs and feminism encouraged women to believe they did not need men, which created more single mothers. Anne immediately pushed back and asked if he thought women were too stupid to think for themselves. Patrick insisted that feminism divided families and harmed society. This moment revealed how debates over economics often bleed into cultural and gender issues. For example, in Sweden, one of the most gender-equal countries, strong social programs have allowed single parents to raise children without falling into poverty, which challenges Patrick's claim that welfare only traps people. Now let's move to the last takeaway. Takeaway 10, the final clash over socialism. The debate ended with Patrick claiming that the United States today is more socialist than capitalist, and that those who hate the system are actually anti-socialist. Faye disagreed, saying anti-capitalists simply want basic rights like healthcare and housing, not equal wealth. She shared a personal story of being hospitalized and unable to vote, which she blamed on capitalism's failure to provide care for disabled people. Patrick offered to pay for her to see specialists, but when she refused to let him choose the doctor, he dismissed her concerns. This moment summed up the entire debate, with each side accusing the other of not facing reality. For example, Nordic countries are often praised for combining capitalism with strong socialist policies, showing that it is possible to mix the two systems in a way that provides both prosperity and basic security. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support this channel, hit the thanks button below. It really helps us keep going. If you enjoyed this summary, please leave a like and share it in your WhatsApp groups. To join discussion about this video, drop a comment below. And for more videos like this, hit the subscribe button below.